This is a Film Stories original podcast. Welcome back everyone to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. I'm your host Tony Black and welcome back to I Want to Believe Minute, where we unpick the second X-Files movie 1 minute at a time. Today, helping me to explore minute 99, running from approximately 98 minutes as Christian lies on the medical bed to 98 minutes 59 seconds as the credits begin to roll. Our fellow X-Cast hosts, Sarah Blair, Carl Sweeney and Kurt North. So we talked a lot in the last episode about the ending of the whole film, but we've got a few more seconds in this one as Scully goes into the medical room. Christian's lying there ready for the operation. She's in her scrubs, and somebody asks, "Are you ready to begin, Dr. Scully?" And that's when she sees the nuns at the door. You mentioned the nuns in the last minute, Kurt. They're actually on the on-set wardrobe department, because Chris Carter, again, just likes to get random people in. And he said that was a last-minute thought he had to put some nuns in there to sort of add a little bit more of the religious iconography and the fact, it's a religious hospital, obviously, Christian hospital. But yeah, they're peering in at the window as Scully says, "Yes, I am ready." So what do we make of this final moment? I mean, it feels like it is part of that cathartic wrap-up, I guess, of the whole film, and it's designed to sort of hammer home some of the ideas in the background.
I can't think of how it would have been done without those nuns. So I'm really glad that they did that, because it does add that complete juxtaposition, and including the music as well. Like you talked about the Home Again music, and obviously this kind of this cadence where it goes from a minor to a major key right at the very end, which absolutely makes that scene. But I can't imagine not having the nuns in the scene, because I think it adds the final bit of weight to it, and the kind of, I'd say, cathartic kind of moment to it, and just the smile that Scully gives, and and even the little shrill of the X-Files theme tune portraying it. I don't think I can imagine it without that. So that is such a great coincidental, accidental thing that they did there, because it just makes the film so much more and so much more impactful.
I absolutely agree with Kurt that it's hard to imagine it without the nuns. What I think this minute does really well is, the sense that all eyes are on Scully, that all these people are watching her, that there's a level of the weight of expectation is on her. And yeah, it's when you see the nuns, it's with the change in the music, like Kurt is describing, it's with Scully's change in facial expression, which breaks out into a confident smile, that the whole thing adds up to a feeling of harmony and resolution in a way that really is quite powerful, I think. And again, just to reiterate the same point from the previous minute, it's the kind of thing I appreciate an awful lot more now than I would have in 2008. It's really well done, I think, yeah. Do you agree, Sarah?
I do. I think I really like how it gives us the chance to see how much Scully has grown and come into herself. And she's been questioning so much through this whole movie, and having that doubt, and finally in this moment she knows she's where she needs to be, doing what she needs to do, and helping this little boy. And in one of the previous minutes, I mentioned how Mulder started off, clipping newspapers and ended up clipping newspapers. But Scully has really grown a lot. And, I think Chris Carter mentions often that the X-Files is Scully's story. And it's about Scully. And I think this just kind of nails that home, really, that this is kind of I don't know if about her is the way to say it properly, but it is her story and her journey in being challenged and finding her own way. And I really like that about it.
Yeah, and talking about like Scully's own story and things, because you think about like the pilot that we don't see Mulder until after Scully. So in retrospect, looking back at this episode, that you see that it's kind of right that we end with Scully if this was to be the end. So, I'm just obviously something retrospective there, but it definitely feels right that you would end it like that, as what Chris Carter said, it's more through Scully's eyes. So I actually, never thought about it that way before, but it definitely feels that way to me now.
Yeah. And Requiem even ends with Scully, so...
And then, of course, Scully being there for all 9 seasons in the way that Mulder wasn't, of course. With what happens in 8 and 9 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's whether there's obviously an intentionality about that, which is even more interesting when you look at it in that way. But I think it's a really nice way to bring the curtain down on the film, really. And I mean, what do we think? Was Christian all right in the end? Obviously, we don't know. We don't see. There's no wrap up, but I'm pretty sure he would have been okay.
Obviously, she totally cured him. He is living his best life.
Yeah.
He used the inspiration from Scully to become a doctor, and he's saving his own lives all over the place.
Unfortunately, I think he died a very miserable death on that operating table. But no, I think the feeling you're left with is very much, like I say, it's harmony, it's resolution. You're not expecting anything bad to come as a result of that operation. No. Yeah, so I think he's fine.
That's why we get the last scene, post-credits scene, is Scully's on the lam. Because...
malpractice or something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the scene they cut. Yeah.
That's why she's rowing to Barbados or wherever it is in the final scene.
They're waving to the police helicopter overhead. Extradition charges! Can't get us now!
Stop your boat! Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it, if we had that? But no, it's a nice ending, and obviously we get the X-Files. You mentioned it, Kurt. That little trill of the X-Files theme, in a nice soft way to bring it down and bring us out of the film. And then we get a caption that says, "In memory of Randy Stone," who was the head of casting at 20th Century Fox at the time, I believe, and he was involved in casting David and Gillian right at the beginning. So again, another level of weird circularity to the whole thing, and who passed away around the time this was made, which is quite sad, I think.
Yeah, and it's nice that they honour him in that way with the message at the start of the credits. That's a real claim to fame, isn't it? That you helped, or you cast, or you helped to cast David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. Because imagine how different the history of the X-Files would have been if one or both of those actors hadn't been cast. It's kind of like they're the element of like lightning in a bottle that really makes it all work, I think. So,
well, and popular culture of the 90s as well, really, and how big a part the X-Files was of that. It wouldn't have been the same without, it might not have ever been part of that without David and Gillian, really, would it? So it is, I agree,
would any of us be here together as friends without Randy Stone? We don't know.
We would have found each other.
Fate would have brought us together.
It would have done.
I'm trying to think about Randy Stone, because he appeared in a couple of acting roles, didn't he? Was it the beginning that he was in? I'm trying to find it now, but
what was he?
Who was he in the beginning?
He was one of the.
Was he one of the Roush guys?
I think so. Yeah.
Who at the beginning.
I think so.
Or was he on the board in the FBI that questioned them at the start of that? Wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
It wasn't the guy who talks about Men in Black, was he? In that one.
It might be.
Oh, well, when Mulder says, "I never saw Men in Black." That's that one.
Yeah. It was a damn good movie.
Kurt has made a bold claim, and he now has to research it mid-podcast.
I'm having to quickly go through this because I didn't do my research.
I mean, it would be hilarious if he was the one that cast. He was also.
He was also.
He's the one saying.
Do you know Beware the Dog, Millennium?
Yeah.
Oh,
he
yeah.
was the guy. He
Good
was the
episode.
guy that was, unbeknownst to the village, he was the first person in the village when they spoke to him, and he was like really weird because he was new to the area. He was that guy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He was him. Randy Stone. This is great podcasting, people. He was an actor
Man
in
looks
Final,
up stuff on the internet. Yeah.
he was an actor in Final Destination.
Written, of course, by Glenn Morgan and James Wong.
So when did he pass away, Kurt?
Try and find
And
it.
also, what was Randy Stone's favourite colour? You know, you need to give us as much Randy Stone knowledge as possible.
This is great podcasting. I
Having
apologise
taken us down this
in advance.
detour, you need to deliver the goods.
I want all the Randy knowledge.
All the Randy knowledge. Well, that's all I can give you is that he was in Beware of the Dog, and it was Rick Milliken I'm thinking of in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah, because he was a cast in LA, wasn't he? Yes. Sorry, I apologise.
You got your casting men mixed
Yes,
up.
he was in Beware of the Dog, but in Millennium, but in Rick Milliken was the beginning.
Okay.
So it's ignore everything I've just said. Thank you.
Cut it all out. Just this whole segment. No,
Oh, no,
that's all staying in.
That is all staying in. It's all staying in. We want Kurt's mistakes on
Excellent.
record.
I'm fine. I
Excellent
make mistakes
podcasting.
all of the time.
Yeah.
I make mistakes all the time. I owe my mistakes.
What we're here about at the XCast.
Yeah. We never make mistakes,
No,
Kurt.
no.
You see, that's the thing.
Absolutely not.
Also, and we're going to talk about the credits in the next minute a bit more. But also, you don't get this on the theatrical version, I think, and on the one that we would watch in the UK on Disney Plus, for instance. But in the extended edition, the credits actually have still image photos that Chris Carter and a few other people took throughout the shoot, and you see them in rapid fire succession over the credits, and it's all kinds of behind the scenes pictures. There's loads of them, and they hit you. Did you guys see those while watching the film in one of the various cuts?
I mean, I've seen them before. I didn't watch it this time, but yeah.
Same. I've seen them before, but because I knew we were sticking to the theatrical version, didn't rewatch them. But
Yeah.
I suppose it goes back to that sort of almost home movie vibe that you were saying about Chris Carter putting his accountant in there and solicitor and packing a movie with cameos of people and people from the history of the show, and maybe it's a bit like that. I think it would have been the wrong vibe to put in the theatrical release of the film, but it's quite a nice little touch for having
DVD
on the
release.
DVD, on the Blu-ray and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
DVD. Well, he said they considered it for the main theatrical release, but they didn't feel it was the right vibe at the end of the film, and maybe like you say, that home movie aspect was a bit too personal for a theatrical wide release. And I mean, it might have taken something away from the style of the credits and things like this, because there is a certain stylized element to that, the credit design and things, which we'll talk about in a bit. But yeah, I think it was probably the right call not to put them in there for the theatrical. But it was nice to see them. It was nice to see all these things pop up, and I think it would have been nice to see them a bit slower, almost, to sort of be able to take in some of the images, because they're a bit rapid fire and you can't quite see everything, I guess. But yeah, it's a nice
Well, that's
addition.
why you watch it over and over again, Tony.
yeah.
As we do.
Yeah, as we do. Yeah. Well, let's come back then for our final minute. Technically, although we're going to have a bonus conversation afterwards where we reflect and talk a bit about what the listeners think of the movie and things like this. But this is the final minute now we're going to talk about, and we're going to cheat a little bit, but we'll explain all when we come back for minute 100 next time. So stick with us, guys. Don't give up, and always remember, trust no one.